Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by The Creative Process. Wait, just need to clean my room first and get the laundry going. Check my email, do my taxes, but then I'll get started. Now, let's dim the lights and think about starting the show.
Welcome everyone to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Space Paranoids. Pick up a copy of the all-original cult classic Space Paranoids at your local Babbage's. Welcome everyone to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we are excited to not keep you waiting in the offstage area. So with that in mind, Todd, what are we covering today?
Today we are covering The Green Room, which is from 2015, something like that?
I think so, yeah. I think 2015.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the film, please pause this episode and go watch it. I believe it is streaming, but you can also rent it, for a few bucks or whatever. Because we don't want to spoil anything.
For sure. We'll dive into a handful of things. We'll talk about some of the cinematography, talk about lighting, salt and pepper, and we'll also dive into the story and writing, talk about moments of tension, pockets of action, grounding us, the theme that I picked up on anyway, and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. A punk rock band is forced to fight for survival at a neo-Nazi skinhead bar. Written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. Cinematography by Sean Porter, featuring Anton Yelchin as Pat, Alia Shawkat as Sam, Joe Cole as Reece, the drummer, Callum Turner as Tiger, the frontman, Macon Blair as Gabe, Imogen Poots as Amber, and Patrick Stewart as Darcy.
And no clip. I couldn't find the clip that I wanted. So we'll do it live.
Nice.
So
that's surprising because there's a lot of like options in this movie. I feel
there's a lot of great ones, and I couldn't find I really wanted either the paintball story or them all trying to debating or talking about what punk rock means to them and why they're not going online, like they're kind of allergic, right, to being virtual, and so they have a fun, interesting approach to music is meant to be experienced with other people, and it's live and it's effervescent or whatever their version of that is. So I found that really interesting. So this was your first time watching it. I definitely want to hear your experience, through this. But even more than that, I want to know, you were in a band that toured many times, and so I'm curious if you ever ended up, not in this situation, but any similar spaces where you're just like, I don't know if I should be here, or where am I? How did we get into this venue? Did that ring any bells?
I mean, be a little I don't know, yeah, not to this point. I mean, we never had beers thrown at us or anything because we're in we have played at places where our music did not belong, where we show up and there's a punk band playing and there's mosh pits and stuff. And I remember we played one festival and it was out in the middle of nowhere. And this was back, I want to say, maybe 2009. And we show up and it is, okay. Well, this one was weird. It was like Christian punk rock, but
hardcore, bro.
It was actually very hardcore. Oh. And I don't mean that in a good way. I'm going to use the religious aspect as a good way. I don't mean it like that. I mean, you had to be hard, or else they just didn't like you. And, so I remember we got there and we instantly, had to change our set list and stuff. And it turned out to be okay, but we were just so nervous, you want to show up and feel like you're, you go with the other bands that are playing. You don't want to feel like the outlier in a bad way, right? It's one thing if you show up at a chill place and you're going to play metal. I think I don't care. I'm just going to play metal because that's my attitude. But it's another thing if you have if you show up at a punk concert and you're playing like heartfelt ballads and stuff. Like, not that we were all ballady, but like, that's just it's not the same going the other direction. I think this was interesting because it wasn't like, it wasn't like they were out of place. I mean, they were heavy punk, hardcore band, right? Mm-hmm. It just so happened that they're playing at a neo-Nazi bar that they didn't know was, and then they start singing about how they hate, or like everybody in the
F-Nazis
audience
or whatever.
Is shit. Like, F-Nazis and stuff like that.
Which is very punk to just go into a skinhead bar and then say F all of you.
Yes, exactly. And so, but I liked that there was just enough awkwardness to make you feel like it, but it wasn't the center point of anything that even happened. In fact, the guy who kills the girl, said, he's like, what was that second to last song? It was hard, man. And then he said, that's the one I did her to. It's like, oh my God. But he liked it. You know what I mean? So it's not like they were out of place for their music. They were
glad
just
to meet a fan.
Yeah. So I like that the tropes were not a huge anchor part of this story. It was just an interesting situation that they found themselves in, and it made sense too. It was kind of pretty believable, I would say, where they're about to leave, and then the girl in the band, like, she forgot her phone in the green room, so they go back and they find the dead girl, and then they're just like, they're trapped there. They won't let them leave. Okay, that kind of like makes sense. I could kind of believe that. And then I think that having Patrick Stewart as Darcy is perfect. It's just perfect because you believe him. Like, who doesn't love Patrick Stewart? Everybody loves Patrick Stewart. So it's a rare instance where having a known name actually like is super important, because everybody knows Patrick Stewart and loves him and wants to believe him when he's on the other side of the door saying, we just want to let you guys go. Just, you got to give us the gun, because for our own safety, but if you do that, and we're just going to let you go, this is just for our safety, keep the bullets, like whatever, just come out. And you want to believe him. And, what's his name? The guy who gets his arm cut.
Oh yeah.
Pat. Yeah. And, Pat kind of like wants to believe him because he doesn't want to be in that position. So he's like, we got to do it, guys. And I believe that because it's Patrick Stewart. And so I think the casting was perfect for it. They cast all these young people for the band because they have a lot of energy, and having a lot of energy, not just in a band like this, but going on tour and dealing with things like, we had a gig got canceled and stuff. And okay, well, we need a gig, like we got to, so they're just like, we don't care where, we're just going to play. I remember being like that. I remember like having those moments of like, oh, we don't have a gig, but we don't have enough money for gas to get to the next place. We never siphoned gas, but we probably should have, if I would have known 10 years ago. Yeah. And then it's surprising, a lot of the stuff that happens, I just don't expect, I just love the band because I just see myself in them. Yeah. And so I want them all to survive. And obviously they don't. And it's heartbreaking in a way. Like, okay, the best moment in the whole movie for me was the one that I physically felt it. I had a reaction that I don't know that I've ever had in a horror movie before, where I was scared for the character like it was me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it, the moment is when the girl who has like the fire hydrant or the fire,
the extinguisher. Mm-hmm.
She runs around the corner and, so she's running down a hall and she runs around a corner and this guy comes in and starts swinging a machete at her. Do you remember the scene I'm talking about? And
yeah.
she falls back, she screams and falls back and then sprays him with the fire extinguisher and runs away. For some reason, and I don't even know why, but for some reason, that moment, I was physically scared. It wasn't like I was scared because it was a jump scare. I was actually scared like somebody was trying to kill me or somebody that I cared about. It was a perfect moment. You know, you're maybe it was because I think it was right after one of the band members gets killed by the dog and she's running away. I think if I remember right. And so I'm thinking, oh my God.
That is, good question. Because I think it might be two different moments, but I don't actually remember anymore. It might be the same way. Because
the dog thing happened at a different point than this happens, but I don't know. Something happened and I was just like, oh my God, like, whoa, I did not expect that. And I think he was the first one to die, right? Like by the dog. I think that was the first one to die.
Yep.
And so maybe I think it was right after that. And if it was, I was already kind of, hurt because, oh man, they just killed one of the band members. He was just playing a gig, man. And then she's running down the hall and somebody swings a machete at her. And I just was, I don't know, man. I was like so scared for her. I wanted her to survive like so bad. So then when she does die, it is kind of like heartbreaking. But anyway, I think they did such a great job throughout the entire movie of keeping you entertained and scared, but not really like scared. And that's why I like this movie, because I don't really like being scared all the time. Like being scared a little bit, or like where there's tension and stress is great, but just constant fear is exhausting. I don't want that. But they do a great job of having these light moments too in between, so you have these roller coaster emotions. So I loved it, man.
Dude, that's so awesome to hear. Yeah, for me, this is like the perfect gore horror movie, because it's not like forcing you to imbibe all these gory effects. Like, I see just so many lazy storytellers that are like, well, we're going to do a gore film and therefore we're going to watch people's whatever body parts get manipulated in ways that is just going to make you squeamish, and we're going to hang on it, we're going to do close-ups of it, and we're going to crank the audio up on it, and it's just, to me, very lazy. I know a lot of people enjoy those, and that's all fine and good. I'm saying I look at that and I see laziness. I don't see like innovation. Like, to me, it's just a very cheap thrill, whereas this, it has those moments, but it's as a part of a character. Like, you're hurting not because you're seeing a wound, you're hurting because this person is in pain, and people are trying to help him. Like whenever he gets his arm cut up, you don't see the cuts happen. Like, you see him freaking out, and we're freaking out for him, but we don't know what's actually happened until he finally gets his arm back and you see it's in ribbons, and you're just like, oh God, right? The crappy filmmaker will just really like do a nice close-up of a knife cutting his arm and giving you all those like gnarly sound effects, I guess. But that's what I love about this film. I'm sure maybe there's an edit of that somewhere, and maybe he filmed that stuff, but ultimately in this edit that I'm seeing, it's not there. And it's still so effective emotionally, which is what I want out of any movie. Like, I want to be emotionally engaged. I don't want to be assaulted visually. And here they're just allowing these moments to unfold, and they're going to give you the gore, but they're not going to like ram it down your throat and make you like a dog who's being forced into his mess. Like I don't need my nose rubbed in this. I'm perfectly capable of watching those 12 frames and keeping it in my head. Like, that's enough. And so I love that approach to the gore. I love what you're saying about like the tension is there, and they keep like finding these really good moments of tension. But it doesn't exhaust me. And I was able to watch it twice today. I woke up this morning, like I brushed my teeth and hit play. And it was like, I haven't watched it since it came out because I was so dreading the moment with the arm. Like, I've waited brutal. 10 years to watch this a second time. Has it been that long? Yes.
Oh my God.
And I was like dreading it, but also kind of excited. Like, because I remember really liking this movie otherwise. And what's funny is, it wasn't nearly as bad as I had built it up in my head. Like, it had lived really hardcore in my head this whole time. And so rewatching it today, like for the second time, I was like, okay, I just watched it this morning. I'm going to sit down. I don't really want to watch it again, but I need to make, some notes. And it still held my attention. I was still gripped in the story, and I was still like caring about all these characters. That's so impressive. Like, to not even have 12 hours between viewings, and I'm still like forgetting to take notes. Like, that's super impressive. The writing is just so good. Like, this isn't a very complex story. It's a kind of I don't know if you would call it a classic story, but a very simple story of man in the box, so to speak. Like, we've seen this version of a story probably a dozen times in pop culture. Like, I don't know, Panic Room, right? In the 90s, David Fincher. Like, this is just Panic Room. This is all this is. And they found a completely new approach to it. Okay, they're stuck in a room. Now they just need a new reason of why they're in there and why they can't get out. Cool. A band, right? Or whatever. Like, we could see a different version of this probably in a lot of other movies. Cube is another version of this. Very different circumstances, but still people stuck in a room and trying to find a way to get out. Like, you could make endless iterations of this, and the way they do it is still just really compelling, because they have villains with their own motivations and their own goals, and they have heroes, protagonists with their own motivations and their own goals, and they're perfectly at odds with each other. And it creates so much conflict. It would be very easy to spend less time with Darcy and the skinheads and just let us cook inside this room. But I think that's part of the relief that we get, is actually seeing what's happening outside the room allows us to kind of take a little bit of the tension off, and then put us back in it. And so it's genius, man. I'm looking at this movie and I'm like, they do such a good job of creating even simple moments of tension. Like, we get to the green room the first time when they're preparing to go on stage, and it's just Pat. He looks at his bandmates, realizing like, these guys are actual neo-Nazis. I got a dumb idea. And cut to, we're on stage, and now we're anticipating what's his dumb idea. Like, what are they going to do? Oh my God. And so there's tension there, but it's fun tension. Like, we don't assume they're in immediate danger, but we have no idea. So we're waiting for the punchline. And then he drags it out a little bit more, right? Nothing comes easy. And especially in this kind of movie, nothing comes easy. Like, every scene should have some kind of setup or payoff, and even better if you can do both. And so he's setting us up for them going on stage. Like, they could just cut to them playing on stage, but if you have some kind of like punchline coming, that's so much more fun. And so Pat gets queasy. He's like, yeah, I don't know about this. Sam is teasing him about it, right? She's all like, if you back down, I'm telling everyone, or whatever. Like, I'm shoving you into the crowd. Like, she's giving him a little noise, and then we cut to them playing the song, and it's like saying F you to Nazis. That's a great punchline. Because we are actually laughing. That is funny, especially to see how some of them, clearly not every one of them are neo-Nazis, but the few that are react very passionately.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
Fantastic.
And it also gives us a reason to be watching the crowd, right? Because that's when he starts to see something else is happening. Like, there is this girl and she's trying to leave and someone's grabbing her. What's happening? And so we already are starting to anticipate there's another plot happening underneath the surface, and it's all set up so seamlessly. I'm just incredibly in awe at Saulnier's writing prowess here, because it looks effortless, and it can't be. It just can't be. And then we go like another moment of tension, right? Big Justin, he's pointing the gun. They get him pinned to the floor, and like just getting him to move from the floor to the chair. Like, all these moments with Big Justin are just these little moments of tension of, is he going to make a move? Is he going to try something? He's big. Like, it's in the name, and we see it. Like, I wouldn't want to tussle with that guy. And it doesn't matter that there's 6 of them in the room, 5 of them in the room. Like, this guy can move people. And so handing over the gun is this great moment of tension. The buildup is amazing, right? Because they're resetting the armbar because they're going to hand over the gun. So like, you get back into position. I'm going to get his arm. We have that slow view through the door's vent, right? Opening the door. And then as the door creaks wider, she gets a better view and sees that there's someone else there. Like all of it. And even then, it still doesn't pop. Like then there's a bunch of yelling. We're still building the tension before the action hits. And then knocking out Big Justin is crazy. Like that whole
Can we not talk about that?
Yeah, fine.
Oh my God, what she does to him. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's so quiet. And that's the other thing I love in this movie is the quiet moments. They don't make everything scream. They let you just digest and process. Sorry, no pun intended.
And you just get... And to your point, you get like 12 frames, and I can't talk about it. Right? And you're so right. It's dead silent. It's just... She just does it slowly. Okay, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's confirming that he's out and now that he's also dead. And then the next moment of tension was them rushing out of the building, which is so good. The setup is we have no idea what's waiting right outside the door until they open it, throw the fluoro, and then we can see the fluoro like crash against the wall and there's no one in the hallway. Now this creates a whole new moment of tension because if they're not waiting for them there, where are they waiting for them? And they creep down the hall, creep down the stairs, and it's just slowly building. And then, of course, Pat wrestling. This might be my favorite moment. Like, as a director watching this and as a writer watching this, I'm like, this is masterclass stuff. When Pat is wrestling with the shotgun on the ground inside the drug lab, and Amber pops down out of the ceiling, calmly walks over, picks up the clip, loads it, walks up, pop, pop. And it's all the chaos in the background, juxtaposed with the calm camera move. And it's steady, man. That's a beautiful steady cam shot. And we're just slowly following her. We're like, hurry, hurry. And everything in you is just trying to rush her over there. It's beautiful, man. I was floored.
It's a great example of like film is an editor's medium, it's like, and director, right? I'm not gonna lie, but like inherently a director's medium, but like just the editing is so fantastic in this movie. And Sean Porter is fantastic cinematographer. I mean, I don't know what else he's done. I'm sure you probably do, but I don't know what else he's done, but you hit the nail on the head there. Having the knowledge of, hey, we want to feel a calmness of her walking to the guy, and we want it to feel crazy and stuff while we're showing the two guys wrestling with the shotgun. And so we have it handheld and all that stuff, but a slow dolly move in with her as she's walking down, like just knowing that creates this dichotomy of craziness and calmness, and it's almost like eerie calm, like like the calm before the storm kind of thing. It's just masterfully done.
And I love the punchline to that moment because she kills him. She looks down at Pat. This is Amber. And she tells Pat, I got him. He says, totally.
Like, yeah, pretty sure.
Flabbergasted that motherfucker. Which is an amazing line. I would never think to say something like that.
I know, right?
So good. But then they also have pockets of action. And this is the really cool part about this movie to me as I'm thinking about like writing an action film, one of my next scripts, because there's such a good exchange of energy that's happening throughout the film where you have these chill moments, right? The opening of this film is very chill, it's very slow. And then we finally get to like the restaurant concert that's loud. And then we're driving to Oregon, kind of chill. And then loud, we're in the punk show. And then they're, exchanging these moments of chill and excitement. And then as the film goes on, right, we get them trapped. And then big action moment, the gun handover, the cutting, killing Big Justin, then chill, right? We're scrambling to look for an alternative exit. How else can we get out of here? And then we're kind of slowly ramping tension, rush through the door, empty building, then action, right? Dog kills tiger, the drummer gets stabbed. Then we're chill again, retreating. We go back to the room, collect. The boyfriend gets killed, right? He breaks in, gets killed, finding the shotgun, and Sam gets killed right outside by a dog. Then chill again. They retreat to the room. They're like, what are we going to do? They reformulate a plan, the paintball strategy. Then we have action, right? They set their own trap. They lure the shotgun into the drug lab. She dumps the body, trying to get him to waste ammo. Like, they find just a really good way to jump from one foot to the other. Goes back to what you're saying. Like, I don't feel overly stressed. And it's those moments of, okay, we're going to have moments of chill, calm. We're going to have moments of tension. And then we're also going to have moments of action that act as like this third, tripod of, okay, this isn't tension anymore per se. I mean, there's tension within it because you want to see what happens through the action. But the action is you're just so busy keeping up with what's happening. It's absolutely beautiful because the coverage in this movie is it's fantastic. Like, I watched this and I'm like, I'm probably going to buy it now just so that I can go through some of these sequences. And I don't even mean the action sequences. I mean these sequences of them in the green room. Because you have to understand that a green room isn't big, right? Like, that's probably 10 by 15 or something like that. It's not a very big room. But you never feel like claustrophobic in there. Like, you never feel like you see it all or you're experiencing it all. And that's really, really hard. And it happens, I think, because we're so focused on the people and the coverage. And I have to imagine, I don't know, but I have to imagine they shot listed the hell out of this thing. And they understood the edit pretty well before you got to the editing bay. Like, the editor's still finding, like, okay, the pacing and some of that stuff for sure. But they knew we're going to want a simple shot of a gun. And we're thinking now about the gun. And now we're going to move around the room. We're going to check in on Reece, right? He's calming down after having taken down the big Justin. I don't know. But as you're progressing through the room, you're never thinking about how confined you are. You're always thinking about, what are these guys thinking? What are they planning? How are they processing what's going on right now? And it's just a masterclass in scene coverage, because it may even be a disservice to call it coverage, because I don't feel like they were just sitting around grabbing coverage. I feel like they were progressing their shots in a very logical manner so that they weren't being wasteful on set of getting a bunch of stuff they didn't need. They were like, okay, camera's going to be over here. We're going to cut to over here. Like that moment, even whenever he goes to hand over the gun, like there's a 2-cut that's in there of Pat walking up to the door. That doesn't happen by accident. And there's a lot of directors, especially in 2025, that would make a lot of that stuff a oneer. They would just say, how can we do all of this in one shot? And it would have been wrong. That's the old David Fincher motto of, there's 2 ways to shoot a scene and the other way is wrong. Like, that would have been the other way. And it would have been wrong. Like, cutting it up creates so much more tension and visual interest for sure. But it really helps you stay with the emotions of each character and what they're all experiencing. Freaking unbelievable. And the other thing that I think makes the green room feel bigger than it is the lighting. They do a great job of constantly keeping backlit all the cast, as well as when it's not, they're creating all these beautiful pools of light, these pockets of light around the room, which is creating like this very, very dark, shady, overcast kind of look. Even when they're outside, it feels overcast, like there's a storm coming in, and it's a nightclub kind of vibe everywhere all the time. And the way I really love, especially in the green room itself, is all the kind of salt and pepper. I don't think we've ever talked about this on the show, but whenever you're thinking about why does this cinematography work, it really helps to understand highlights and shadows and how they're interspersed throughout the image. And so whenever you're doing these pockets of light, when you're setting up a lamp on the wall, and then like an overhead fluoro that maybe the light's out, you're creating these little shots of, we're directing light on the wall here and just there. And that's creating in the background of your composition a nice highlight. And if that's a highlight, the other stuff outside of that is going to, by nature, be darker. Unless you have some big ambient lighting, creating a lot of like room tone for the entire scene, which in a different film would make sense. In this film, it wouldn't. So let's control when we're having all this ambient tone. And this movie is just a masterclass in cinematography and pacing and the writing and performances. Like all of it, I am suddenly like, I'm glad we're revisiting it because I want to own it. I want to break it down. I want to pull it into my Premiere Pro and study it for the action sequences, the tension buildup, even coverage, and start analyzing all of that. I am just, I'm flabbergasted. They flabbergasted this motherfucker.
Wow. Yeah. And I was trying to think of why it didn't feel so, verklempt in the room. And I think that Jeremy Saulnier like understood that like, okay, it's a room, but we don't need to see every inch of it. So for example, let's picture the room. You walk in the door, you've got this back corner that's lit, this back right corner that's lit. You've got a back left corner and it looks like there's a closet back there or something. We never go into that closet, but there's like some other area extension of it. Because that's there, it feels like the room is not as small because it could go farther. It could go like, maybe it's a tiny
into the
room
darkness,
that's
right?
Right. Maybe it's a tiny room. It's like 5 by 5. Who knows? It could be 20 foot by 20 foot back there. But the fact that there is an extension to the room makes it feel a little bit bigger. Also, we don't really see the left corner ever. I mean, I'm sure we probably do it in some shot or something, but we never really focus on it. So because we don't see every inch of the room, it doesn't really feel super small. And then they extend the room by going through the floor. So now the room is even bigger. And they go through the floor and they find all this stuff, but it doesn't lead to anything in the story. It's another place to fight, right? And then, that guy,
it's a dead end,
gets killed.
Yeah.
And that's great. But it really, what it does is it opens up that room so we don't feel so tight. So we could go back or we could go down, but the room is kind of like expanding as the movie goes. And I think it's just brilliant, like he doesn't have to, just because they found, what did they find out there? Drugs? I can't remember.
Yes, it's a heroin lab. It's a drug lab.
Heroin.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. It's important to know that they're doing, bad things because now we know they're bad guys. We already knew they were bad guys. We didn't have to see drugs to know that, but it adds another wrinkle and it expands the room. So why not? And they have to have something to do. So they do that and they find out like, maybe we could go through the floor. Yeah, it makes sense. They're not just sitting there waiting to die. They're looking and trying all these things, calling out, could we go through the vents? Can't fit through there, all these things. So I think it's just a really smart story. Yeah. And I love, the reason we love it, man, is because it doesn't treat us like idiots as viewers. Like it doesn't explain everything. It lets the characters discover things. It doesn't make the characters stupid for the sake of stressing us out. Like, can you just realize this? Can you, no, they just do things, and it just treats us like we know what we're talking, or we know something about storytelling instead of like giving us everything. I think it's fantastic.
That's a good point. And one of the things I think adds on to your point is the audio. I actually really love this mix because there's so many times throughout the film where there's kind of whispering. And you don't really catch what people are saying. And we don't actually need to hear everything. The important parts we do hear perfectly clear, and we are picking up, but it's forcing us to lean forward and to engage more with the film. Whereas if everything was announced and repeated, and like, is it really changing the dynamic of the story in a more engaging way? No, like, it's fine to miss bits and pieces of dialogue. And if he really wanted something to be louder, I think he would have just made the shots closer, like closer close-ups. So that would allow for louder dialogue, because as the camera gets closer, the characters get louder naturally. And I think he's very specific and precious about treating the distance to the lens as something subjective for the audience to experience. And I think that's just a very, very smart way. And I just respect the hell out of it personally. As far as writing goes, again, like there's a couple small moments that happen that I think help build connection. That's really important between Amber and Pat. Because they're effectively like our final girls, right? In horror, you kind of have this thing in the 80s slashers where there would usually be one woman left at the end of the film. And that became a bit of a trope in the 80s. And we call those final girls as a fun, kitschy, like hat tip to the genre of the time. And here we have Amber and Pat both surviving, but Amber isn't in the band. And so we need to pull her into the group. And they do that through at least two little moments. As Amber is descending to check out that drug lab with everyone else, Pat stops her. And when he stops her, they're all alone now in the green room. Everyone else has already gone down below. So now it's just the two of them. And he tells her very genuinely, right? Hey, I'm sorry about your friend. Like, he's over there bleeding, hurting, but he's still being thoughtful and extending like some humanity to this person that we never got to meet, but we know it meant something to her. That's a beautiful little moment, and it builds this connection between the two of them. And it's very quick. It's like 20 seconds max. And it's simple, but it's genuine. And it's a way to create a relationship between her, because we need to pull her into the group on an emotional level, because she's trapped with them. And we as the audience need to trust her. And so if we start caring about her feelings, which is extended through him, suddenly we also begin to trust her as well. That's genius. And I think the other little thing that they do, and it's so subtle, but we're just vacuuming up all bits of information in this movie, is his paintball story. He's getting to the punchline and he gets interrupted. And now we're kind of expecting like, well, how did that story end? And the way they put a button on it is with her asking as a joke, like, was that a pep talk? Like, you just said y'all got wiped out. Way to go. And that's, funny. But the fact that Amber responds to the paintball slaughter story shows that she was listening, and it puts a pin in that conversation, because now we're expecting to come back to it. Like, that was incomplete. And now we've got them having this conversation together instead of everyone listening and paying attention. Because if you have one of his bandmates make that comment, it doesn't stick as well in our brain, because the next time, whenever he does finish it, it is the two of them. It's them sitting under the couch, and she prompts him to finish it. Like, so what was the end of that paintball story? He's like, well, you got to know my friend Rick Carrera, or whatever it was. And he just tells a story about this guy who stopped playing by the rules, stopped doing what they wanted him to do. And he stopped playing, war. And he just stopped having this regard for his life. And of course that leads into their moment of, we're setting a trap now. The other thing I really liked, this is how you can tell someone loves the genre, is the band deaths. The deaths of the band members are very interesting, because you have Tiger, who's the front man. The dog rips his throat out. So the singer no longer can speak. That's how he dies, by vocals. That's really fun. That's a really subtle hat tip to horror fans. And then Reece, the drummer, is stabbed to death, right? It's a lot of little quick hits, like a drum, right? And that's really fun. The one I was hoping for, I think, what I would have preferred, and maybe this is where story takes precedent, and I appreciate that. But Pat Sam is a guitarist, and she gets killed by a dog. I would have preferred if Sam was the bassist, and she had been killed by a shotgun, like something big and heavy. I think that would have been really fun. But I understand, like, it's more visceral to have her killed by the dog, and have you feeling like there's something that could be done. There's nothing. He's right to leave. And Pat, I think he should have been the guitarist. Instead, he's the bassist. And this still kind of works, but Pat gets his arm sliced up, right? He gets shredded. And so that's another little hat tip, right? And so that's fun, you know, and I think there's just a little wrinkles if he wanted to, could have amped it up, but it still works. It's all still really, really fun. My last two little notes. First one is on grounding us. And keeping us embedded in the story, because you pointed out earlier, like, you buy that she forgot her phone and that there's things in there that they weren't supposed to be seeing. That's why they got kicked out in the first place, right? But that's also why she had a phone in there in the first place. But it's that exchange in the hallway as Big Justin is trying to lead them out, right? Hey, y'all follow me. He's walking out. She says to Pat, crap, I forgot my phone. He says, what? My phone. That's a beautiful little moment because it explains why Big Justin didn't hear them, didn't catch them going into the room. He was halfway down the hall. And if the guy standing right next to her can't hear her, why would he? So far away. Mm-hmm. And so him yelling what while standing right next to her keeps the scene grounded in a way that never makes us feel like, oh no, that doesn't make sense, right? You're just like in it. It's just beautiful storytelling. And in that same vein, maybe she's not dead. There's that moment in the room where they're looking at this dead body and they're like, maybe she's not dead. The girlfriend with a knife in her head. And we're all kind of maybe thinking that, like, we've seen a lot of movies and news articles where people survive crazier things. So yeah, maybe she's not. So he pulls the knife around like she's clearly dead. And then he drags her across the floor with it, which is freaking like, oh God. And it's beautiful. Yeah. Like, it's probably not a terribly hard stunt, right? Maybe some hidden wire running down behind her shirt to a harness, and now you can just drag her around. Like, that's genius. And it gets you more engaged, and it also takes one more little thing off the table for us to be thinking about, grounding us. My last thing that I loved was the dogs, and I think this is on theme because the dogs are trained to kill. Right? And at the end, what does the owner say? I'd consider it a personal kindness if he dies with meat in his mouth. Right? And then you get to the end, and what happens? The dog ultimately lays down with his dead owner. And he turned that dog into something it didn't really want to be. And I think that's on theme, right? Because now with the owner dead, the dog was no longer a threat, right? When they see the dog coming, they like grab their guns and they're like, what's going to happen? And he's just done killing. He's not being commanded and ordered to kill anymore. And I think this story has a lot of people who want out of that community, but they feel trapped and that they have to keep doing things they don't really want to do. Now, how they found themselves in that community, I don't know. In some ways, I think we're all beholden to where we grow up and the people we grow up around, like nature versus nurture kind of thing. And one of the things I really love, Alex O'Connor brings up when he's talking about religion is how you can predict who is what religion based on where they grew up with like 90% accuracy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like religion is tightly controlled with your geography. And I don't see why something like this wouldn't also be the case. Like you can probably figure out who's going to be having what beliefs based on where they're growing up and who they're growing up around. And so I think this story is touching on those things in a very subtle way. It's ultimately like a gore fest, but there is some thought being placed with some of these elements of the dogs being a representation, right? A symbolic gesture to the other people who are in this situation, all alike.
Yeah. Like who's the guy who the right-hand man of Darcy?
There's Gabe who earns his red laces at the end and who ultimately betrays. And he's like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah. Is that the main guy?
He's the one trying to pacify everything.
Yeah. I think so. Like he feels like very much like that, like the dog, aspect of that. That's really super interesting. And then the opposite of that, the worst guy in the whole movie is the guy you were talking about who like just drug her across the, I liked that song. I did her. That's the song I did her to.
Yeah.
and you just think you're like, he was a child. That terrible human being was a child, and that child did not grow up like wanting to be this. That child was made into that, just like these dogs were made into this. Now, I'm not saying he wants out of it, you know, like it's just his world now, but I mean, I think we align in like it's nurture, you know, not nature. You can turn anybody into a psychopath, you know, with enough effort.
Yep.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Hitler like showed you can do that, like, you know, relatively simple. But yeah, no, that's interesting. I never thought of that as like a running theme with those dogs. That's brilliant, actually. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it just, to me, illustrates how thoughtful he is as a filmmaker to make sure, hey, okay, I'm going to tell a horror story. It's going to be fun. Everyone's going to, and if someone is really thinking, like, they'll find something else. They'll pity the dog. No one is excited to see dogs kill people, and we're also not excited to see those dogs get killed.
Yeah.
There's a odd amount of sympathy that we extend to animals in ways that we don't extend to people. And I think he's trying to get us to think about people in those same terms, in his own subtle way. And I just really, really love that. That's a very big part of my own worldview, I suppose.
And the last thing I'll say is like, I was thinking about this in terms of like, you know, we talked earlier about how we really care about everybody in the band.
Yeah.
We haven't like really spent a ton of time with them, but we care about them. And, you know, if you juxtapose that with like other horror films that are good, you know, not taking anything away from them, but like, you know, you have a group of kids who are all going to a cabin in the woods for like, you know, a vacation.
Yes.
Now, and I'm not like shitting on those movies. Like I like those movies. I'm just saying there's a different feeling when like one of the girls dies or like one of the guys dies a terrible death than it was watching these band members die. And I think I mean, like for me, like what I can see on its face level is like, this is a group of people who have a common goal, right? And they're going after something. You're going after their dream and they're doing it together and they're busting their butts to do it. Like they're making effort in life. You know, it's not like they're going on vacation. You know what I mean? They're like, no, we're trying to survive. You know, we're siphoning gas because we can't afford gas. You know, we're just trying to survive to get to the next city to hopefully make some money. Like that's it. You know, they're working. And so we don't want them to, you know, to die for some stupid reason because all they wanted to do was play music. All they wanted to do is this thing that they're working towards. So that's another thing that makes it different from those other films. And it's like, oh, well, that's a perfect situation. You just like put these, you instantly care about these people because you know that they're trying very hard at what they love.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Because them being broke and like getting trapped is everything. You're like, these guys are really struggling right now. They deserve some help.
Yes. They do not get it. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah. Great film. I'm really glad that we covered it, man. Dude,
that's so awesome. What are you going to recommend this week?
Okay, so this week I'm going to recommend, there's a new film on Netflix called A House of Dynamite, Catherine Bigelow directed, that I just watched. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I watched it last night.
Okay. I think there's some interesting takeaways from it. I don't think that it's like the best film ever, you know, but I do think that like there's some really interesting moments and interesting ways of thinking about this situation that could easily happen at any moment, right? And the fact that like nobody could know that situation is coming except for a select few group of people and how easily something like this could probably happen. I think it's a very important movie in that regard, and entertaining the whole time. So anyway, yeah, I'll recommend that, A House of Dynamite on Netflix.
Nice, good job. I'm going to recommend another Anton Yelchin film. Like I am such a big fan of this guy, and it just always breaks my heart when I think about him not getting to continue making films for the craziest of reasons. but he's been doing it for a really long time. In 2001, he made a movie with Anthony Hopkins based on a Stephen King story. It's called Hearts in Atlantis. If you haven't seen it, it contains the best of Stephen King and the best adaptation of one of his works. And Anton Yelchin, he's the main character. He carries this film, and he does it in a way that just, you can't help but love him. Like, he's so good. And Anthony Hopkins is forever like a king. Yeah. And so, yeah, Hearts in Atlantis, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It's so good and just beautiful. Nice. Stay tuned for next week. We take on another horror film. We're going to go to Wreck. If you haven't seen that, pull it up. You'll have a fun time. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, leave us a note. Let us know kind of things you want us to talk about. Whatever you find interesting. Movies, whatnot. If you want to leave a note on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/greenroom.
And our quote of the day is from James Baldwin. I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they'll be forced to deal with pain. That's so good. Yeah. That reminds me of another, it's not a quote necessarily, but like I heard somebody say it once and it made so much sense to me because I'm always, it's different from this, like, but it just reminds me of this. I'm always in a hurry and I'm always trying to do more. And I'm always like, I'm always in a hurry. I'm always in a rush. And I heard somebody say once that what is it? Hurriedness or whatever you want to call that, like rushing is the absence of love. And it makes so much sense because you're just all about yourself. You're all about what your goal is. You're hurrying, you're not other-centered. I can't, most of the time where I'm like, frustrated with my kids is because I'm in a hurry and I need to think about that and stop and pause. This quote kind of like really makes me think about that because you have this one thing that you're holding on to that you feel like you need. Like for me, it's like rushing, but hate is a good one. And you're using that to mask this other thing that you just don't want to deal with. And that makes perfect sense,
Wow. Yeah. I don't know what it is about people who just look at everyone else and find reasons to hate them or detest them. It goes back to probably tribalism, right? Like we see our own group of people as the ones to be championed or the ones to be better than, and maybe it makes some people feel better to have a pecking order, and you are looking at everyone as competition. And I think that's the wrong way to view the world, as you're looking at other people who are looking to take what's yours or to invade your space, or any number of things like that. It's such a warped way of looking at all your brothers and sisters in the world because we're all technically related. Like, Yep. You go back far enough on the tree, we're all family. And it's just so weird that whether it's racial hate or nationality or whatever groups, it's so funny listening to them talk about their island band, like their desert island band. Like, who would you take? And even them amongst each other are lying to each other because they're afraid of being othered from their own group.
Yep.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
These people love you. Why do you care so much that you don't trust them? You're afraid that you will no longer be a part to be one, and therefore you don't trust them enough with your truth. Like, that's such an interesting thing, and we all deal with that. We all, wrestle with exactly that thing. And I think in some ways this other thing we're talking about is just another symptom of that. I don't know. But,
great point.
Yeah.
Great quote, man.
Thanks.
Made me think a lot.
I love James Baldwin.
I had a great time talking about this, man. Great film. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. Wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe, review us. It all helps. It really does. If there's a film you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart or whatever, let us know. Maybe one day we will cover it. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch the movie.